All right, everybody. We're going to be going live for this week's episode of the Safely Extreme cast here on Game Wisdom. This is for the week of January 17th, 2021. It's been yet another crazy week around here. And as always, my co-host will be from Nexus Games. Please welcome Sharky. How you doing?
I'm surviving.
Yeah, I hear that.
I am under the weather today. I am still experiencing, bad stuff, but less bad stuff, kind of thing. I'm also kind of in this period where I'm kind of like my creative juices are like wrung out, kind of thing. I'm having issues with that.
All right, thanks for coming on. Yeah, sorry to hear that. I know it's tough. I've been feeling that for the last few weeks with everything that's been happening, craziness around the world. So I've been
Hmm.
having to kind of like kick myself in my own butt to get started. So this week I've officially began writing book number 4. And I'm about 4,000 words in, and who knows how many more to go in it.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any like word goals?
Uh, I'm hoping to hit at least 25,000 for it. Don't know where it's going to land. There's a lot of history more with horror than with some of the other genres, so there's a lot I could go into if I need to stretch things out.
Yeah, but there's also a lot less present right now for horror, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good present, you mean?
Yeah, a lot less present that isn't the same O.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, I saw more YouTubers find like another like clickbaity looking game that they're like loving in horror, like
Oh
this
yeah,
FMV one that like you're wandering around a hotel.
yeah, jeez. The
Oh
FMV
boy.
part the FMV part and the YouTubers are picking it up tells me almost everything I need to know about that game.
Yeah. For tonight, maybe I'll do a palate cleanse and play Resident Evil 1 Remake again.
Hmm.
But as always, for the City Extreme Show, we're going to be discussing a game dev topic. And for this week, we're going to be talking about browser based games and browser based game design. Is that market still available? And kind of what are our thoughts on it? So before we get to that, any news this week that stood out to you?
Mm, besides the chaos going in our world,
Yeah, besides that one.
no, not really. I haven't
Mm,
seen anything.
let's see. Oh, I got hair in my mouth. That's always good. Helps when you're trying to talk too, and you're losing your voice, and you got hair in your mouth.
That's
Just double whammy. That's a masochism way of losing your voice.
a triple whammy.
Hmm. There was a little bit of a controversy surrounding Hitman 3 and the fact that Epic Game people who had to buy it would have to re-buy Hitman 1 and 2 to get those levels ported over. And it's looking like Epic may just give everyone Hitman 1 and 2 for free if they buy Hitman 3, just to, help them out.
Hmm.
I
Including
mean, the,
those who didn't own Hitman 1 and 2.
well, I think you have to assign, they have like an IO interactive account that you have to use for verification.
Nah.
So, I mean, again, like, I think Epic is doing like above and beyond because they know just how heavily scrutinized they are.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to give anyone any more ammo than they already have.
It was their fault to give that ammo in the first place, though.
Battle.net is getting a improvement according to Gamma Sutra, so I assume it means a lot of people have phones.
I thought Battle.net was dead. I thought they canceled it for Blizzard.net.
And I don't know. Let's see. I think that's their actual platform, right? Battle.net 2.0.
Hmm.
Let's see. Improve keyboard use, screen reader. It's going to have better color contrast. Hope it works better on mobile devices.
Mm-hmm. It's
If
probably
it
not
doesn't,
mobile. It's probably not mobile compatible.
probably. Oh, and C Project announced a kind of what was like a non-apology. It
Oh
sounded like they
yeah.
were throwing a QA under the bus for it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They were. They issued that non-apology. He said, he wanted to take responsibility and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but hey, we had issues and we released the game despite them. Like that's not. I don't know if that's really taking credit for it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and they left out some really juicy bits that that they should have apologized for, kind of thing. And like, I mean, like it was. And oh my god, I scrolled down to the comment section and oh my god, man, those top comments, those consumers, oh god, they're brainwashed. They're like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel sorry for CD Projekt Red. You know, here they
I've
are
already,
making an epic game, and everybody's criticizing them for it.
I was already starting to feel a headache before. I think it's going to snow here, making it worse. And I linked a shark. Like somebody on Twitter was commenting about how they felt that they needed to defend AAA companies this week because they were being attacked too much.
Yeah, that's
Because the AAA developers are so what's the word? They're being so threatened, right?
yeah.
Blizzard is how many billions of dollars rich this year?
I don't know, all of the
Mm,
billions.
yeah.
They're in the you got phones billions.
Oh yes. And we were talking about on the Discord that what's our celebrity status right now? What's our rating? Oh, negative 250 to 100.
Oh, yeah, our rating of how well known we are, and I'm negative 200 well known.
I'm what, like negative 100, 150
I
right
thought you
now.
were I thought you were negative 50.
Yeah, I'm
And
getting there. Maybe in 3,000 more subs, I'll hit zero.
yeah, and the sad thing is about me being negative 200 is negative 201 is like the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gotta get good at those YouTuber reactions.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah, you should do it if you like shark pictures with like in YouTuber reaction form.
Well, I do have the faith palm one.
You need like the surprise shark too.
Yeah,
And it's a very quiet last few days. I think everyone is still in a post New Year mode or uncommon craziness mode. It's hard to tell these days.
yeah. I
But
mean,
we're gonna hopefully have our roundtable this Tuesday with I think we got Tomo Ramin, maybe one other person. It's kind of hard to tell. I know unfortunately Jack has the late night classes this semester, so he won't be able to attend.
so we'll be missing Jack for the next several podcasts.
Yeah. And hope that also puts a delay on our We Hate Fortnite cast too.
Yeah, gotta have that one.
Oh yes. But let's get to our main topic because I think this one will be somewhat on the shortened side. But
You
we'll
just
again
cursed
let
it.
it. Yeah, of course, it'll be 5 hours now. So let us talk about browser-based games because this is a topic that it's kind of an interesting one. Like I remember, wow, 20 years ago normal time, 600 years ago game dev time when I was back in college, and we were on there playing everything from what was it? I was playing Kingdom of Loathing. This was I think right before that Ebony game broke out. I was going to include some Ebony screenshots in the thumbnail for this video, but I'm pretty sure some of those malls will get this demoted very easily. Although that could be the new strategy going forward. All videos must have sexy models on them.
Yeah, I mean, like, I probably should honestly do that because it's not like YouTube is going to demod me because they've already demodded me
You
until
can't
I hit
demod
100,
demod.
until I hit 1,000 subs. I can just put whatever thumbnail I want.
There you go.
Maybe I'll just start putting a lot of very lewd stuff for every thumbnail.
Mm-hmm. But with kind of the browser game, like this really blew up in the early thousands. And when I was working at Comcast back in like 2009, 2010, There were days when I was like going to eat something, like everybody was on the computers playing some kind of browser-based game, whether it was like a Farmville clone, like a zombie one, stuff like that. Yeah, I played Kingdom of Loathing. I played another one. This was like for like a few weeks. Other than that, I really didn't spend too much time on them, is actually going to be, I think, a big point of our topic for today. But for you, Shark, did you play any persistent browser-based games?
Um, are we counting different servers?
Sure.
Then probably about 50, 60, 100 of them, somewhere in that range. Quite a few. Because I know with O Game alone, I played like at least 20 different servers on that game. I played, at least 5 or 6 servers on most other games I played, like Knights something. I forget what that one was. Knights Tell? No, I don't think that was it. Knights something. I can't remember it. And I played a bunch of League of Angels, I think it was. A bunch of um, another one that was almost exactly like League of Angels, but it was before League of Angels. Um,
I
there was a
did.
whole bunch of them. I played, several servers of all of them, and I was known to be in the top 10 of all of them, pretty much, as a free player.
I do remember, what was it called? I know you guys will know this. The one that was like kind of like an RPG with like 100 man servers, really popular. You fight like bosses and level up. I think it was on Congregate. Hmm. It was ported to Steam. It's like the really famous one. I can't remember the name of it. Hmm.
I played lots of games over in Concrete.
The Realm of the Mad God. That one.
Yeah, didn't play that one.
I did play stuff like there are a lot of like idle-based games I play in the browser, which probably wouldn't count for this category. But stuff like there's like a paperclip one, there's an evolution one. There's one that I actually like. It was kind of like a Factorio meets idle game, which surprisingly was better than a lot of the like retail attempts at copying Factorio.
Hmm.
It was actually closer to that. It was like a more evolved version of Shapes.io that I showed you.
Yeah.
I don't know, Rats, if it does count or not. Because I know, like, I think, like, as a really good starting point for this topic, what we're defining as, I guess, a persistent base browser game would be something where there's a major social aspect to it, where, wait, so you play a text based, yeah, like anything that is a kind of a game that is meant to be replayed with a social aspect to it. So, like idle games probably wouldn't count in this regard. Stuff like obviously like a big example would be Cookie Clicker, because Cookie Clicker is very much a self-contained thing.
Oh yeah, I played the Fairy Tale game too. I don't
Didn't
think
play
I
that.
played that one for all that long though.
Yeah, and this is, I think, another like very interesting point about this discussion is that browser-based games kind of achieve their peak. Would you say what, like early thousands and maybe like the end of the decade?
I would say probably in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, early thousands. I mean, there was, you know, we're still, like cutting our ears off and mailing it to people back then. The early thousands.
Yeah. Yeah, I played, like I just said, Ethical, I played a lot of Cookie Clicker. I think that was like the first one. Mafia and the pet games, I know a lot of people play like those Mafia, Crime War style games. Didn't really play those. I mean, that was kind of like when we were like at like peak Facebook kind of games. Again, Farmville being a huge one at that time.
Oh yeah.
And
I played several of them on Facebook, but like it never got into any of them because they were all just horrible. Like the I think the most one I got into was one on dragons kind of thing,
mm-hmm.
and it was entertaining for like I don't know a week, and then after that it was like this is just grind now. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't any fun. It didn't have any like social connectivity that like a lot of the other browser games have.
Yeah, and to Rat's tail point about like his game, that's always the challenge of any of these titles. And I think it's kind of the, I guess, the sin that the mobile industry and free to play games have taken over. That idea that if you want to keep people entertained like this, you have to keep that content going. There needs to be a reason to keep playing them. It's something I've spoken with Ramin about a lot, with the idea of player generated content and why the whole social aspect is such an important point about these games. Because if you don't have that reason to keep playing, they're not going to stick around.
Here's a question for you, Josh. Would you consider my current game a persistent browser game? Since it is going to be a browser, it is going to be available on the browser. It does have the
Mm.
social systems, and it is very persistent in being a CCG.
It could fit that category. You're going to have, obviously, people can connect
And
to each other, they can communicate.
alliances,
Mm.
tournaments,
And again, like the whole mobile free to play like system really felt like the evolution from the browser based games.
hmm because I mean, part of my inspiration for my game has come from browser games.
Hmm.
And part from the mini game of from Final Fantasy X, the Triple Triad, and part from Magic the Gathering, and parts from a lot of different places.
Hmm. Oh yeah, Neopets, Club Penguin was like a massive one. Um, the developer of one of them actually got in touch with me. I think it was WizKids, Wizard School. It was one of like those big ones. Like you saw commercials for it all the
Mm-hmm.
time in the early thousands,
You mean the early 2000s?
early 2000. Yeah, Tribal War. Yeah. And again, like yeah, Wizard 101. Thank you. And we saw a lot of these games really try to occupy that in between space between a full on retail game and kind of the handheld wars that were going on in the 90s and early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
here's my question to Rat's Tail, because he's the one who suggested this topic. And I guess to anyone else who's playing them right now as well. What is it like playing a persistent browser based game today? Is there still a decent market for them? And what would you say about that as well, Shar?
Um, I would say there's definitely still a decent market for it. It's a very different market kind of thing, but it's still decent because like the what I've seen a lot of browser-based games do is actually make a not only do a browser-based, but do a free install on Steam, free to play on Steam, as well as do a free to play on mobile because less people are actually playing games by the browser, but it's still those same exact games kind of thing, but their own browser. Like that mobile game, that Bleach mobile game I was playing, that I went down the rabbit hole on was basically the same thing. But surprisingly, there wasn't actually even a browser version of it, which was weird, even though it was exactly like your normal browser game.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've been keeping an eye on, like a lot of like the mobile YouTuber community, and a lot of them play their mobile games emulated using BlueStacks as a popular one.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of weird that we don't see that cross play. Again, like probably like the notable example is something like Genshin Impact that was released on consoles and PC as well as mobile all at the same time. And I just wonder, do you think it's because of a market penetration issue, a technology one, or if like the developer just doesn't trust their game will succeed off that platform?
I don't actually know, but if I were to guess, I would say it's, the fact is the more ports you do, the more work you have to do, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Which is one thing I'm personally worried about because we're having full, cross
Mhm.
play, full cross compatibility, saves, everything. And, but most of our game is run on our server, and the client side is mostly animations, graphics, sounds, that kind of thing. So since we built it specifically for this kind of thing, so that saves us load from having to patch three different, eight different, however many different clients kind of thing. Because if we have to patch the, PC client and then the
Mhm.
browser client, and then we have to, patch the Android client, the Apple client, and then we
Mhm.
have to go patch the regular VR client, the standalone VR client, and the Android VR client. That's a lot of patches for one freaking patch.
Oh yes.
And, the fact that the game itself will be running on the server kind of thing will save us a lot of that issue because most of the things that will be on the client side will just be art, animations, and sound, and more than likely that's not going to need a patch. And if it does, it probably will only need a specific patch on one specific platform, or maybe
Mhm.
two specific platforms kind of thing, or something like that. Because maybe one thing that affects, one mobile device affects the other mobile device. Like for example, they're, glitching out their placement kind of thing because they have a different UI layout kind of thing, and that got carried over between both mobile versions. So, that could be a thing, but like, we're trying to, address, limit those problems before we even get to those problems kind of thing. And, fact is that I figure most developers making these games are not thinking that far ahead and just thinking that they don't even want to even remotely face those issues, and maybe they don't even have the ability to face those issues kind of thing
Yeah.
because they may be solo developers or whatever that are just, because let's face it, a lot of, browser games are, copy and paste from other browser games with different themes thrown on top of it. So I mean, in different, the mechanics, give stats different ways, and they may just be copy and pasting that code kind of thing, and then editing the code, and then putting a new aesthetic to it, and they're just going with that single platform because that's all they can handle, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And the fact is that may be the only platform they need. But you know, I really want to do the crossplay. I really want to be able to, download it on your PC, play it on your PC, and then you're on the go and everything, and you want to play the game. You're like, oh wait, Neon Continuum has a mobile game too. Let's play that. Oh wait, I can log into my same account and use my, I don't have to start all over. Let's do it, kind of thing. I get to keep all my progress, keep all the cards I bought, keep all the cosmetics I bought, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, it does have it. It's built to have a consumer friendly model, and also by doing the crossplay, bolsters our potential, our total player base kind of thing. Because when you deal with most games kind of thing, their player base is only on one platform kind of thing. Where with this interconnected player base, then each player base can feed into each other kind of thing. Like the issue with VR is there's not a whole lot of people playing VR, but like if VR players can play against, people on PC or people on mobile kind of thing, they'll be able to find people to play against, kind of thing. And you know, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that in general, the companies either don't want to fool with it or don't um
Mm-hmm.
have the capability of fooling with it, of doing multiple platforms or just cross platform in general.
Mm. Whereas I did see the Imperial conflict message. Was there another one you posted? Yeah, and you said the market was heavily saturated. I mean, how many people ripped off of Evely or Ebony? Was that what it was called?
Yeah, Ebony, I think.
And then they ripped off of, I think that was like kind of like based off like the Clash of Clans model.
Mm-hmm.
And how many of those very misleading ads did we see? And we still see them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to Evicle's comment, like that's what we see a lot from mobile games, with them all copy the same kind of design. And oh my goodness, so many of those branded based games. Like how many Marvel copycat games have they made so far?
Yeah, there's a
I
lot of
just saw
those.
one they released that looks like a League of Legends clone.
League of Marbles.
Hmm. And that's, I think, one of the issues. I mean, going back to what Ratsail said earlier about less than 1,000 players overall, like I think that is unfortunately part of the issue that we see. Like the advantage of this is that they are relatively low cost to maintain compared to some of the bigger budget games that we've seen. But the problem is that if the market is, let's say, about 1,000 people, you need to make a game that is good enough to draw them, has enough content or forward, post release content to keep them coming, and you have to make sure it's priced or you're able to get an income off of 1,000 people.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what they do is they release these 1,000 people servers. People will come in there and spend a lot of money, right off the bat, kind of thing, and keep on spending because generally these games, you do better by spending at the beginning rather than at the end, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they've trained people into that. And when you everybody comes in there and the game is super active at first and like everybody's spending money at first and you're fighting your way up kind of thing, and then as you get into late game everything just drops off because all the free to play players have
Mm-hmm.
quit, all the paying players that did not do as well as I think they were thought aimed to be, aren't doing as well, and they quit kind of thing, and then you get this dried up, thing to where only like 30 people are playing the game kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they're starting one of these servers every, depending on who they are, they're starting them every 2 days, every week, something like that. So, at any time they have you know, one brand new server that just came out kind of thing. And,
Mm-hmm.
that's, and all the servers are just copy and paste of each other, so like, and the fact is that they only have like 1,000 people in each one means
Mm-hmm.
that server load isn't high and they just, as servers get lower and lower, they just, they take these dead servers and they just put them all onto one actual server kind of thing so that they're not renting out, they're not paying $300 a month or whatever they're paying for a server for, all these servers, because like, the dead ones, there's probably about 50, 100 of them all on one single server kind of thing. And they're saving costs by that. And of course, people, some of them will actually merge those servers into one big server,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll die out too.
Yeah.
And then they'll merge those into bigger servers, and then they'll die out, kind of thing. And kind of thing. And but some refuse to merge servers.
Yeah. And part of the challenge about these games is that the social aspect is so key to their survival. Because if you're just playing this by itself, there really isn't any real draw to it. Yes, maybe you'll make like a little bit of progress, but they are designed much like mobile games to get you into an alliance or a guild, and then let that kind of pick up the slack. And
Well,
hi, Mike.
they can be entertaining at first, but then it's as you get far enough in, because you can't even join a guild at first, kind of thing.
Oh,
But like they do want you to get in the guilds, kind of thing, and they want you to get in there because of the player made content from talking to other guild members and whatnot, and from setting up whatever kind of battles and whatnot and all kinds of other stuff, and they really want you to get in there. And to be honest, I want you in my alliances and such too, mainly because I have a lot of content planned around that kind of thing.
mm-hmm.
And with the alliance battles and whatnot. But like there's still content that isn't around that. But like there's still a lot of content that isn't around that about that. But like I think that would make it better. I think it's a better thing. But people who are solo are still going to have a good time. And it's not like those games that are meant to start out with 1,000 people, pay to win it until it, gets down to no people kind of thing and just start a new one. Mine's, one single server that will hopefully grow and grow, or one single network of servers kind of thing. And, you're not making new accounts. The game is just growing as it goes with new sets kind of thing. And, you know, I'm hoping to, both scratch a lot of the itch of this as well as CCG kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And as we're seeing these discussions in the chat, like the role playing angle, I think is a very interesting one. I mean, role playing is its own topic. I mean, that can certainly hit a lot of different genres, especially in the mobile, or I'm sorry, in the MMO field.
Yeah.
But I think the problem for me, I want to get your thoughts on this as well as for the chat, because it seems like we have some fans of persistent browser based games. The problem for me as a core gamer always falls back onto that ever annoying concept of time. If I have to choose between what games to play, do I play a persistent browser based game? Do I load up one of the many games in my backlog? Do I even just turn on my phone and play a free to play game on there? And I think the challenge and why kind of the player base has shrunk so much is that it's just very hard, I think, to attract people to that market with just the sheer volume of games being released today.
Well, the thing is the thing with those games is they succeed
Mm-hmm.
by getting you hooked and having you keep on playing and keep on, surviving, keep on joining new servers, continue to play the old servers, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, and I don't think more and more games is really the issue because, like, when when I look at my personal game history, and I think a lot of I think you're kind of exception in this kind of thing, but I noticed that I personally go back to the same games over and over again, the ones that really hook me, and then I don't pay attention to the other ones. That's the reason why I have so much of a unplayed library in my library kind of thing, and I just spend so much time on those. Like I have several. I got I think over 2,000 hours in 7 Days to Die. I think I've got over 1,500 in Oxygen Not Included. I think I've got over 1,000 in Factorio. I think I've got over I got a lot in a lot of different games. But if you go down past like my top 20 playtime games kind of thing, you will see that pretty much none of them are even above like probably even above I don't know, probably about 50 hours kind of thing. And you'll probably see that, that'll quickly take a nosedive even from there when you go down to like the 40s kind of thing. And you'll probably see that my games over there are probably less than 5 hours kind of thing, less than 3 hours maybe. I don't know. I'm not looking at my list right now, but you'll see that kind of pattern. So, like, I think that a game that hooks you kind of thing and keeps you playing for general consumers is more, more what they're looking for rather than one that, swapping to a new game every hour like you do every
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 hour.
stream almost.
You mean what? Every 30 minutes at this rate?
No, it's every 5 minutes on the indie spotlight, but
Sometimes it's negative 5 minutes if the game has no volume sliders.
yeah,
and that's the same thing that we see from mobile and free to play games. That again, the point isn't to make a game that's going to be somebody's backup game. You want somebody who's going to play that game day in and day out, and you need those specific pools in order to get that to work. Because if you lose that person, they find another game they really like, they're not coming back to yours.
yeah, which isn't a problem if just flat up sold the game. But if
Yeah.
you're free to play or any kind of model along that line, subscription based, anything that is not just straight up, you pay to get a thing, except for in the case of an episodic where it does matter, you know, unless you're just the traditional kind of thing, that matters kind of thing. But if you are the traditional kind, it doesn't matter because they, as long as you keep them from refunding, you're good. At least money wise. As long as you can get enough sales anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's really, when you're talking about a browser game, a free to play game, a idle game, a subscription model game, a episodic game, and everything, you've got to not only hook them, but you have to have hook them many times because you have to keep on hooking them to keep them engaged. And you
Mm-hmm.
got to keep them engaged and keep them coming out, which, in a lot of cases requires more content.
Yep. And again, this is something that I've spoken with Ramin about several times. That for mobile based games, it's about 15 to 17 days that you need to keep somebody playing it daily if you expect them to become hooked or become like converted as a long standing customer of that game. And that's a lot of time to be playing a free to play browser based game. Was, as you said, there's no paywall to kind of get you to, you spend money, or you have to make sure you get your money's worth. With a free to play
Or
game, I think
refund.
Jack said this as well, that, if he loses interest or if anything bothers him within a second, he's going to uninstall that game. And there are a lot of people like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's a topic I think I want to maybe make a note about this for a future topic for the show, about trying to keep communities open to new players, or how to support a community of your game long term. Because part of the problem that we see with these games, and I think, let's see, was Rat's Tail the one who said this? Yeah, about you have to be there from the start to feel like you fit. Part of the problem that we see from a lot of these games is that for somebody new joining 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line, it's kind of like you're arriving at a party 2 hours late. Like you have no idea what's going on. You are completely away from everybody. And it's hard to get new people invested at that point. And this is, I think, especially true of mobile games, because a lot of them will have, early sign on bonuses or, new player rewards. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you join a game, 2 years down the line, you lose all that. And as we've said before, people don't like being told that there's content you can't get anymore.
Yep. And that is the issue kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
part of that's onboarding issues as well.
Oh, yes.
And that's all stuff that I will have to address. So maybe we can cover that into next week's topic.
Yeah. And yeah, to Ratto's point, either it's locked because it was given away free for an X period of time, or let's say it was a seasonal or 6-month anniversary super event. Let's say they throw out an exclusive cosmetic or an exclusive character. And
I think the
it
whole
is
point behind the whole negative part behind that is the exclusive part.
yeah. And like this was something I was seeing with a game like Dead by Daylight, that every time I think about maybe installing that game and giving it a try, I just imagine loading up into a game with people who've been playing this game for 4 years and hearing them yell at me because I'm not immediately God tier. It's also why I don't play League of Legends or Counter-Strike anymore. Because if you remember, we did that multiplayer night with Thorn when we tried the League of Legends roguelike mode that was only out for 2 weeks, and we already had people yelling at us because we weren't, amazing as ranked players in it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get good before you start playing the game.
Yep. That's what getting good means.
I mean, it's okay, you can do rare stuff, but you have to be careful with what is the accessibility of that. Like, is it a case where you're going to give something out and nobody who will ever play the game ever again will be able to access it? Because that's going to annoy them. And we saw...
That's the same thing. That's basically a paywall, essentially.
Yeah.
But it's, maybe not even with pay. But it's a walled off content, and you don't want to wall off any content, because walled off content, maybe a temporary wall, for a very short time might be acceptable kind of thing, for like a month or two kind of thing, but not like, not a, like this is, walled off for a year kind of thing. None of that. Unless the only way, I take that back. There is a way that walled off content for a year will work. Holiday events.
I was just about to say that.
But, outside of that, not really. But, you have to make your old holiday event content available with your next holiday event as well.
Yep. Yeah, that's another really important point. If you have exclusive, let's say, Christmas content 2019, and then you have an event in 2020 that has new stuff, you still need to bring back that stuff from 2019 that those people missed.
Mm-hmm. You need to have both the 2019 and the 2020 stuff together.
Yeah, because what you want to avoid is like a player looking at like the progress page or their character page, and there's one spot that is forever grayed out because they weren't around for that specific 2-week period that you were giving it out.
Mm-hmm. And like it bothers me when there's this pre-launch thing. It's it's exclusive to everybody who has played the game before it was out. And if you didn't play the game before it was out, you can't get it. And
lots of mobile games do that.
Mm-hmm. There's some idle games that do that too. Ooh, man, that rubs me the wrong way. It's like, how was I even supposed to know the game even existed back then? It wasn't out yet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It's like a few of the mobile games I'm following I have pre-registered for. I'm sure they have had all manner of rewards and goodies that are available for that first week. And again, if you're giving out stuff like that, you need to be really careful, especially if your game is built on balance. I remember when I played that South Park Phone Destroyer game, and anyone who pre-registered or got into the beta got like one of the most overpowered cards for free, and basically they just dominated PvP for the first 2 months because there was no counter to that card.
Yeah, And I'm not saying that giving players something, special for helping you out is not a good thing. And saying giving them something exclusive that nobody else can have that is forever locked away is bad. Like I know with my game, what I plan on doing is giving out, anybody who participates in the early stuff will get some bonus cards at the beginning, but they'll be the normal cards kind of thing. It'd be just like they paid some money. Basically, I'm paying them some money equivalently.
Here's a question for you and for the chat. If you remember, Team Fortress, when they got to the point like there's like a 5 or 10 year anniversary, they gave away exclusive cosmetics for how long you were playing the game for. Do you
Mm,
think that was a smart or bad idea?
well, probably smart for them. Bad idea for consumers, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because that probably pissed off a lot of people. But they probably kept on playing because they
Mm-hmm.
got to defend the Triple A's.
Oh yes, they're so poor right now.
Yeah, they're completely under attack for no reason at all, apparently.
Mm-hmm. But bringing this back to browser-based games. So here's, I guess, a kind of a question, and I'm going to throw this to the chat as well. For our Tuesday show this week, we're going to be talking about iterating on game genres or evolving design. Do you think persistent browser based games have hit a wall in terms of where they can go? Or do you think that there is room to grow that design in today's market?
Oh, there's definitely room to grow, but they
Mm-hmm.
have hit a wall of sorts of where they have grown. Where they're currently growing because just like mobile has hit a wall, to where it's going. It's going the every game's free to play and every game is clash of clash and whatnot. And you know, while it is not a wall that cannot be overcome, it is a wall that currently halts progress, partly because of the consumer base itself, because that's what they've been trained to do, and putting stuff out there that isn't that makes it a lot harder to actually succeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a clash of clans.
Yeah, and Flash is no longer being supported, so Flash is officially dead now.
Mm-hmm. People
Yeah.
finally willed it into existence. People have said Flash is dead since I don't know, 2014 when I originally got was originally getting mentored by Latch over there, Berserk Games, and or Berserk Studios rather, and the everybody's he was making the game in Flash, and everybody's like, Flash is dead, Flash is dead. It's like, no, Flash is a legitimate tool that works well for his needs.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, after a certain point, he swapped to Unity because it met his needs better. But he would still make stuff in Flash, like his like his stream alerts and everything else, and they were really amazing done in Flash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think to Rat's point there won't be a renaissance. I think I would agree with that. Like, part of the reason why RPGs and roguelikes really blew up was that there was a growing market for that, and developers were able to experiment in that space. I guess with like the browser-based games, like we've seen a lot of them on the role-playing or RPG side, but I know there are first-person shoot. Like, aren't there like a first and third-person shooters you can play in your browser?
Yeah, but I don't think those would count.
Mm. Yeah, because they want to be more on the persistent side.
Hmm.
And it has to be low spec as well, which I think again that will be less and less of a problem as computer hardware is like kind of building up, what's considered a standard.
I think something that might, pass in the future, not currently right now, is a lot of the .io games. Like we haven't seen any persistent ones, but that doesn't mean they can't make one. And
Mm-hmm.
some of those gameplay loops are very much set up to where they could very easily be made into persistent.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we could see a persistent browser game from an IO game. Heck, it may already be out there and we just don't know about it. Because, as much as I know about games, there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of games out there I do not know even exist. And, there could be something revolutionary out there that I don't even know about. I,
And
I,
that's
I
another.
know that my current game that is pretty revolutionary in some ways is not known by most people. Pretty much the only people that know about it is the ones that watch these, my show and Josh's show right here going on right now, as well as like the 100-ish people in my Discord and the like 17-ish people on no, the I think it's 30 something people that have subscribed to my YouTube channel. Although I bet 20 of them don't even know about it because they were here from a long ago. And I'm betting that that most people well, some people in a few discords know about it, kind of thing. And that's about it. Probably only about 200 people, and 300 people know about the game. And the thing is my game, in when it releases here, in hopefully less than a year, but probably more than a year, in a year ish kind of thing, is that game could be the biggest game of the year, and nobody's aware of it right now. I'm sitting here trying to tell everybody about it, and nobody's listening.
Well, I'm sure nobody on my YouTube channel or nobody watching knows about the YouTube channel, right?
No.
Yeah, and I think like part of this challenge again is that there may be something amazing, but if only 1,000 people worldwide are playing it, what's the chance that one of them has a platform that they can, broadcast that to?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same issue we see with the independent space. How many amazing indie games have we played that nobody ever talks about? How many, less than stellar indie games that blow up because, somebody with a big enough megaphone shouted it out?
Yeah. A lot, because there's a lot of amazing games out there that nobody gives the time of day to. Like Other Sharks game. Your favorite game to mention. You know,
Yeah.
um, that game is a really solid game. Really, really one of the best Metrovanias out there, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And nobody knows about it. It's sold probably what, 150 copies, 200 copies. There's like 200 people that's played that game,
Hmm.
and it's one of the best Metrovanias out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. They're still sitting at 29 reviews.
yeah, 29 reviews. So let me do some quick math. 29 times 30. Okay, he probably sold about 870 copies. So there's probably 870 people who have played that game. Actually, no, probably less than that, because probably half or more of them probably still have it unplayed in their library. So probably 870 people own it, but only actually 300 people have actually played it.
Hmm. And I guess for the chat watching, and specifically when watching this recorded, if there are any very high concept or unique PBBGs that are out there that you'd like us to take a look at, definitely leave us a message about them.
Hmm. And also, if anybody has any topics they want to request for future shows, make sure to list that too.
Mm-hmm.
We
And
had
of
a
course,
hard time coming up with the topic today.
yeah. And of course, join our respective discords and follow us and do all that liking and smashing. But this time I'm doing the PR speak. I took it over from Char. Yeah.
Yep.
And that, I think, again, it's a very interesting bottleneck that I think has occurred, that browser technology has grown. Again, stuff like Google Chrome, Firefox are definitely worlds better than it was 20 years ago.
Hmm.
But so much of the market has shifted that it's that similar problem I think the adventure game genre has. That the people who love adventure games are incredibly passionate about it. But getting that market to grow has been almost near impossible for them.
Yeah, I think I think part of it is because their aesthetics. Bless you.
Anyway.
And the other part is the fact is the gameplay loop hasn't really changed. People have already played those kind of games, and they're done with it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not a genre that really implies replayability. People have replayed the heck out of first-person shooters, and because it is multiplayer and user-generated content, people continue to play it because it is, user-generated content. I'm personally not into that kind of game, but like, you know, other games that have just so much content, so many ways to do stuff, like Oxygen Not Included, where you do something differently every single time. No matter what, you solve your problems in a different way, kind of thing. Even if you're still using the same techniques. And with Avenger games, I mean, it has less ways to bend than an RPG does, and an RPG has very very little ways to bend, kind of thing. And it has Avenger game has barely actually, it depending on which kind of visual novel it is, it either has more or less ways to bend, because like if you're talking about your static, your static visual novel games, there's no bending because there's no choices, kind of thing. It is just an ebook basically, and that they have the venture games have a little bit more bend than that. But like if you're talking about one of these visual novels that have all these branching story paths, like a Steins Gate or something,
Mm-hmm.
Adventure game has nothing on that kind of thing. No, no, and that lack of ability right there, flexibility, lacks the ability to grow, kind of thing. You have to become more flexible, and I don't know what you would have, how you could make an adventure game more flexible, but you would have to have somebody who's willing to innovate in it. And the fact is if you innovate in it, you may chase away that passionate crowd that you're so
Exactly.
depending on to do it, kind of thing. So like
And
Avenger games pretty much is a dead genre, and by that point, because there's the only way to grow it is to basically kill it.
is that safely extreme?
Yeah.
Yep, and that's the parallel with browser-based games. That if you're going to make something amazing, then you have to look outside of what the 1,000 people or the 1,000 global community wants to play. But then if you do that, what's your guarantee that you're going to get a bigger market for it? Or you just lose those 1,000 people to begin with.
Yeah. I think that's less of an issue with browser games, because the fact is browser games as a total is rather disposable, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they aren't, I don't think they're all looking to play the exact same thing over again like the adventure game people are. They're looking to play the exact same kind of thing every time, where browser based consumers, kind of thing, are looking for something fun, easy, fun that they can get into on their browser and has that social aspect to it. And you know, and it's fun kind of thing. I don't think they're attached to the gameplay loop because again, the gameplay loop is really, really basic with a lot of systems on top. You know, they like having a lot of systems. At least I would assume they do. So, if you don't have a decent number of systems or a decent number of stuff that they can customize kind of thing to suit their needs, yeah, they might not be too thrilled about it. But, I think I think they're pretty flexible as of gameplay wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to Ethical's comment, yeah, like stuff like The Longest Journey, Miss, even the whole, Watchet Eye and what we're kind of seeing from like the newer generation adventure games, they have their popular markets. There are people who will talk endlessly about them. But in the same breath, I don't think that market is really expanding outside of it. Not in the same way as like roguelikes and RPG based games have done in the last decade. I mean, hell, the fact that Hades got, and Game of the Year nom as an action roguelike is huge for that genre.
Yeah, and the Rat's Tail thing about customization, I'm referring that as a broad statement kind of thing. And what I'm referring to is like, you have like different avatars that you can pick. You have different, teams that you can recruit onto your team, maybe depending on it. You have different, all these systems have like different ways to min max your stats, kind of thing. And there's like tons of those systems, so there's tons of ways to min max your system, stuff, so like is both customization and personalization kind of all kind of together.
Mm-hmm.
But they tend to like that kind of thing, or at least it seems to that they like those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, my game has both of those.
Yep. And again, trying to get somebody hooked for both the short and long term is that challenge because so many of the browser based games have followed like the same basic steps as we said earlier with starting out trying to get you invested before getting you into kind of guild or alliance based play. And I guess it's going to be, I think, like we always say with these topics, it's going to be interesting to see where things are going to go in terms of this market. In terms of, I think, PvP's PvPG's kind of completely dying out. I don't think that's going to happen.
Mm-mm. Not for a
But
while, anyway.
I think very much again, like the adventure genre, like a lot of the more niche entries, there is a market for them. Whether it's 1,000 people, 500 people, whatever, and that developer who can fit that need can get that entire community. But the problem again is what happens when those people stop playing that genre for whatever reason? Maybe, their computer dies, or maybe they just decide to give up on it.
Well, that's the great thing about a browser game. They don't need a computer. They just need a browser.
Yeah.
Their computer dies. They can just use the
The
other
live.
person's computer.
Mm-hmm.
They can't use another person's computer. They can use their phone. You got a phone, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that, you could probably use a Raspberry Pi. There's pretty much an unlimited amount of things you could use to access a browser game, which is one of the reasons why they took off back then. And
Mm-hmm.
also the other thing about it is the I bet you anything that browser games right now are going wild right now because of Corona. Because they're free to play, they're accessible by anybody that doesn't have a gaming PC kind of thing, not your regular gamers, which are the number one people who really need a game to play right now, kind of thing. So I bet you those games are quite exploding right now.
Are you saying that I don't have any games to play?
No, you've never played a game.
No.
You never played a roguelike or platformer or anything else. Never played a
Mm-hmm.
Souls game.
Don't know yet. I'm thinking Resident Evil Remake at the moment.
That'll be your first time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to find one to really play. Or I could just load up a cookie clicker for 24 hours and just put that on the stream. It'll be my most watched stream.
Probably.
Mm-hmm. But
I know. One of my friends, his dad streams apparently, and
mm-hmm.
his dad streams these mobile idle games kind of thing, and he just sits there on the stream kind of thing, and then walks off and leaves it and comes back like several hours later kind of thing.
Mm.
And I'm like, how in the hell does that go anywhere? You don't even have somebody at the computer talking to them. They're just streaming an idle game without even being there with the microphone muted and everything and nobody's responding. It's like, what the heck is those people even doing?
Mm.
Like, how can you watch somebody else AFK from an idle game?
What am I doing here right now? Why am I even here? I should just keep this background on, go leave, and come back in 12 hours, and I'll be rich and famous.
Yeah, but you need to
Oh,
put an idle game up on there.
all right.
We just Well, me and Josh are just going to start streaming idle games on our channels, like
Mm-hmm.
24/7, just, AFK idle.
And I'll probably get like a few hundred people watching.
Probably in the first day.
Yeah. That'll be a jump scare mojo. Random
Yeah.
sneeze. Never know when it's coming. I think we just invented something there.
Yeah.
Jump sneezes.
The idle jump scare sneeze.
Mm-hmm. But I think I am about out of topics or things to discuss for this one. Anything from your side, Shark?
I mean, we do have that tangent there that we could go off into for a while, but we'll probably save that for a topic tomorrow, next week, because that's quite a large one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see here. Besides that, I mean,
Rats wants me to dissect his brain. Okay.
I mean, there's another topic in this of being able to talk about the effects of socializing in games, kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's too long to get into right now. I'll write that one down.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if I can find the thing. Um, is there anything that isn't just big enough to be its own topic? Is the question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is. There's a couple things that are big enough to be their own topic. But I don't think
Mm-hmm.
there's anything that we're missing that is in the realm of being able to be covered today.
Mm. Trying to think. We didn't spend a lot on the monetization side. Like,
Yeah.
how do you properly monetize these games? Other than, of course, going the obvious pay to win strategy. I know the server transfers have always been, I think, a very popular or, a very lucrative option some developers put into their games.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, most of them do go the pay to win route. Pay for a set of wings or pay for, this or that. It's a cosmetic that also gives you big stat boost kind of thing. Which
Mm-hmm.
really sucks if you really hate the cosmetics, but you really want the stat boost. It also really sucks if you really like the cosmetic, but you hate the stat boost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I mean, that is the way I pretty much see almost all browser games going. It's a pay to win way,
Hmm.
and I think there's been a few that have gone the cosmetic route, but very very few.
Yeah.
And I think most of them did that on top of the pay to win stuff. I can't think of any examples where they did not go for that, either one of those models. And that's
Hmm.
bad because, there's no variety in there. I mean, technically, mine will not be going for either one of those models. Mine will be going for a consumer friendly model closer to a physical CCG, not like a Hearthstone CCG because that's very anti-consumer, full with loot boxes. But the traditional CCGs that go through the gambling commission kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
I
It'll be.
I've had a love hate relationship with browser games. Like I've loved to play them up till a certain point where the game screws me over to where they introduce something that can like when they introduced loot boxes into this one game, and I bought a few of them, kind of thing. Well, it wasn't technically loot boxes, but it was loot boxes, kind of thing. It was where, hey, you could buy this thing and it'll upgrade your thing. And then I bought it, and I upgraded my thing. I was like, that's really cool. I like that. Let me buy another, and I bought another, and I got instead of getting a container, a box of loot, it was a box of air. They're like, well, we're selling the thing, but you're not guaranteed to get the thing. Yeah, but I
Oh.
got nothing. Well, that's what happens if you don't get the thing. So you pay the money for this loot box basically, and it has two different things in it. It has the item you want, and it has oxygen, air. You know, and you have I think it's a 30% chance of getting the item you want, and a 60% chance of getting air, nothing. You know, and of course the first one is always guaranteed, kind of thing. So, and of course I bought the first one, I really liked it, and then I bought like five others all together, and I got absolutely nothing in those five. And I was like, "What the?" I was
Mhm.
so mad, and I went to them complaining, and they're like, "No, no, it's supposed to be like that." I was like, "Well, give me my money back. I don't want it." They're like, "We can't give it you back." And then I went to the bank and got my damn money back.
Hmm. And I think again, like for me, I didn't really grow up playing too many of them because I was always playing more console and PC games. And I think with that kind of market, again, it falls really much in the line with the adventure game genre. That the people who love them will love them to death. But it is a case that once you've played one, it's rare to find another one that's going to be completely different from all the others because everyone is trying to court the same community.
I don't think the community is locked into that kind of game though.
Mm.
That's where I think the Avenger games, they are locked into that kind of game. So you can't innovate. I think the problem with browser games is they don't want to uh, they don't want to innovate because they already have a profitable thing going. I
How
know
solid.
that I designed some browser games in my early time where I actually innovated, and I know everybody that heard about it was absolutely ecstatic and really wanted to play it. Sad thing is I never finished those games, mostly because of programmer issues. But
Hmm.
like, I don't think the consumer base is locked into we don't want innovation. I think that a lot of the people who are making them in there, are we don't want to do innovation because that takes work, and we don't want to work. We just want to copy and paste this thing, put some new assets in it, swap around a couple things, and call it done, kind of thing. And just put out, copy and paste those, 5,000 times, every once every like 3 days for a new server, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we're the Avenger game. If you innovate in that, more than likely you just shot yourself in the foot and killed the entire Avenger game fan base.
Mm. Yeah, and
yeah, and accessibility through the browser itself is something big, because that people who don't have a gaming PC can play it. You can play a browser on a gaming PC. You can play it on a low spec PC that can barely run a browser, because it can run a browser, and therefore it can play the browser games. You can play browser games on a phone. You can play browser games on a Raspberry Pi. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Be warned, rats, is the YouTube will probably censor your link though. So
yeah,
we probably won't see it. So if you don't see it pop up in the chat, know that YouTube probably got it.
let's see.
But that is a very much accessibility thing, just a very different kind of accessibility things. There you go.
There we go.
And of course, like we said, my game is along the lines of a browser game. It technically will be available in the browser. And it will have a lot of commonalities, but a lot of things that are different, because it'll be a CCG.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and accessibility is, I think, one of the big advantages here. And being able to get all these people, or being able to get access to it anywhere, has been a major point. Again, when I was working at Congress, people were just logging in from whatever computer they were on to play their game during their lunch break.
Mm-hmm.
You're not locked to a single device.
Yep. Well, it will be running in a browser. Actually, the entire game is running on a server, which the clients mainly just handle the animations and art and music and whatnot, which can easily be handled through the browser. Because the original version that Josh played in the browser, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was that, a year and a half ago?
Feels longer than that.
A year and a half ago is like 20 years in game dev time.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's a lack of innovation in the browser game design? Probably because most people who are making browser games have no idea how to make games. And they just found somebody else's browser game design, copied and pasted it, changed up a few, order of a few things, and posted out there with new artwork. And then once they did that once, they just did that several times. And then they, copied and pasted each one of those into many, many different servers, and they're making quick money. Yeah, like Redstail said, there's no real game designers out there in that category, pretty much.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to make a quick buck, and that's also probably the reason why they're going to mobile.
And also why there's so many problems with mobile games.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough because innovation, it takes money to do that. But in order to do that, you need to charge for it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you need to earn money in some way, shape, or form.
Or you could just do like I do and lose a lot of money and keep on innovating.
Yeah.
And either I succeed before I'm able to stop making games, or before I'm forced to stop making games, or I don't and I'm forced to stop making games.
Mm-hmm.
Which, might be the next game.
Mm-mm.
We'll have to wait and see.
I just don't know if ads are really that useful of a revenue model these days.
Yeah, ads are pretty much a dead thing at this point because like the ad the people who run the ad stuff have like their system down to where they pay you basically nothing per click, and you have to get thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of clicks, probably like 100,000 clicks kind of thing, to make $100. And if you don't make $100, then they're not going to give you a red cent. So basically, they're like, yeah, we'll give you this ad thing. You can advertise us for free for exposure, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And and if you happen to maybe get to that $100 mark, then we'll pay you.
Yep.
But they can terminate you for any reason at any time. So you hit $99, they can be like, yep, you're terminated because we've seen too many too many clicks that looked suspicious, kind of thing. And I honestly don't think, unless you have a wildly successful game that is like viral big kind of thing, like Genshin Impact kind of thing, you will never do anything with ads. And the thing is that I think if you put ads in Genshin Impact, I think Genshin Impact wouldn't have been wildly successful. So, I think the whole ads thing is dead. The only the only reason why I would possibly see ads is as an alternate currency, buried deep down into a system. Like I thought about putting it into mine as a secondary system, like if you want to go earn some currency kind of thing. You can go watch some ads kind of thing. But just as an optional thing. But the fact is I told that to a lot of different people, and a lot of people were very, very against it. They're like, I don't want to pay money, but I don't even want the option for ads in there. And everybody pretty much said the same thing. Pretty much everybody. Everybody that I talked to said that. And I talked to quite several people, many people about that. So I don't even know if that's a legitimate, strategy with ads kind of thing. Because, you know, they're against other people having an option to it.
Yeah, and I'm happy Ratio brought Fallen London because I think that may be very interesting example. I mean, I've spoken with Chris Gardner and a few of the guys and gals from Fail Better a few times in the past, and yeah, like with Fallen London, that would definitely be a case of I think going above and beyond because so much of their design is really built into the narratives that they write for it, and I know Chris was working on a title that was scrapped, and he was also doing something browser based as well as like a browser based roguelike, which was kind of interesting. So there's room in the market, but it's such a hard market, I think, to build momentum out of.
Well, it's a multiplayer game, and you know how multiplayer games are with, if you don't have enough consumer base from the very beginning, then your game's screwed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, then you have to hold that certain amount of player base for long enough that they actually make money at that point. And then you got to keep on making content, whether it's, I mean, part of it's player generated content, but, if you're depending strictly on player generated content, your game is going to die, kind of thing. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And we see that with a lot of browser games because like they have made content for going forward kind of thing. Once you hit level 80, you get this. Once you hit level 90, you get this. Once you get level 100, you get this. But see, most people drop off before you even hit level 60 kind of thing. And, because of the pay to win nature of it. And I wouldn't say microtransactions are the way of the future. I would say it's the way of the current. And it's probably the way of the future too. But I don't think it's going to completely take over kind of thing. But, the issue is with a lot of microtransaction games is they're abusive kind of thing. Which is not a problem with the microtransactions themselves because there's nothing wrong with it. Because I mean, like, it's a payment system, and there's nothing wrong with a payment system. Because like if you have a problem with a payment system, then what about the problems with one-time purchases? Like, I don't know, like a $300 purchase for a AAA game. Because by getting the super elite, super gold, shiny version kind of thing, that is just the same game, but whole, kind of thing. They didn't, take out the pieces of your $60 game. They gave you actually the whole thing by paying $300 for it. And it's not the payment systems that are the problem. It's the abuse, because you can abuse any kind of payment system, whether it's microtransactions, one-time payment systems, subscription systems. You can abuse them and you can do them right. We see a lot of like Patreons, for games kind of thing, and they charge like, some of them charge like, $5-10 a month kind of thing, and all you get to do is test their newest alpha kind of thing. And and at the same time, it's like, I'm paying to be a tester, and by paying this for a year, you're paying $120 to be a tester for probably a game that gets very little development as it is, kind of thing. And it's not a good model. It's a very, because abusive model. But a lot of people really get into it and want to support the developer, kind of thing.
Yeah, to abuse or not abuse.
Yeah. I mean, you can abuse any model. You can also, not abuse any model. Like the abuse is not linked to the financial model. So like, there's nothing wrong with microtransactions, but there is something wrong with the abuse. And the reason why microtransactions have such a bad name is because 99.9% of people who use that model have abused it, kind of thing. Where, maybe 30% of the ones that have used the straight off pay model have abused it, kind of thing. And maybe, 60 or 70% of the people who've used subscription models have abused that. But like, most people have abused microtransactions.
Yeah. And it's the same thing for people who think that the video game industry is nothing but Call of Duty and Madden.
Mm-hmm.
That the popular ones kind of strangle out everything else from discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else here. But yeah, like Fallen London would be a good example of probably one of the more elevated takes. Because again, they expanded on that game for so long. Yeah, Battle Pass is a good one, or another monetization model.
DLC.
Yeah. So I mean, there are options there. And I think I want to comment on what Will said, that like with game designs are frequently compromised, and unfortunately, that is true. Like when you try to add additional purchases on top of the paywall, you always have to affect the game in some way to, make that work. Because if you don't need, 5,000 extra experience points, why would someone ever spend $10 for it?
Yeah. And that's where you come into a real game designer we're, real game designers, not these bad people who half-ass things, but good game designers design their financial models from the very beginning. Because, I mean, not when I say the very beginning, I don't mean like, like minute one. I mean like by the time they have a good concept and everything, something playable and that people are enjoying, kind of thing. When you have that point, you're thinking right after you got that point, what would be the best financial model for this? Would this be best as a free to play game? Would this be best as a single purchase? Would this be episodic? Would this be, subscription based? Whatever. And you build that into it so that everything feels organic, everything feels natural, nothing is tacked on, nothing is bad. Because when you tack stuff on at the end, that's when that pretty much guarantees that everything's going to be anti-consumer or just really crap. One of the two. It's going to be one of the two, if not both, rather than something that can be really good. Because like when you build this into your system, it's not like you're when you're building the monetization model from the start, it's not that you're saying I'm going to ring everybody for every bit of cent they have by building it in from the beginning. It's how can I integrate this in a way that makes sense, that isn't abusive
Piss people
to
off. Yeah.
to people.
It's the same thing I spoke with Ramin about with his upcoming game that he's working on. That he has already, put together a financial model for it, and it is going to be fully integrated in the game.
Mm-hmm. And see,
But
when I had the original demo that you played, Josh, that's when actually before I even showed that to you, probably 2 or 3 months before that, I started working on the model for it, and I knew that being a card game, a CCG kind of thing, if you make that single player, nobody's going to like it when we already had the multiplayer in there anyway.
mm-hmm.
And so it needs to be multiplayer. And if you charge up front for a multiplayer game, that limits how many players you can get, and will significantly kill your game. So at that point, I knew that it pretty much had to be free to play. And then then I remembered, oh God, I hate all the free to play models out there. Like they're all so bad and abusive and everything, and I do not want that. And I don't want to go to work and everything after the games come out and have to work on the game and just be drowned in a whole bunch of toxic crap because my game has that model that is inspiring toxic crap. So what I did was from the ground up, just start making a completely new model, you know, and you know, and it's still how exactly am I planning it? Okay. So there are no paywalls. None. Anything that you can get in the game, you can get it for free. Now, can you get everything for free? Absolutely not, because there will not be enough of the free currency to go around. But, think of think of a normal pay to win game kind of thing, where how it's got the free currency that they give you plenty of, and you probably have more of that than you could ever use kind of thing. And then how they have the premium currency, the diamonds or whatever, that they, charge a lot for and whatnot. So what we did was I killed that premium currency and I kind of merged the two to where the premium currency is the free currency. So the free currency has real value. It is worth something. It is valuable and wanted. And and you can buy more of that free currency. That's the main way we make our money. But you can also buy packs directly with just cash, skipping, ever transitioning into a currency at all. Just go straight from your currency to an item in your bot kind of thing. We also, have like subscriptions where, you able to, like if you want to support the game, but you have problems managing your money kind of thing, and you don't want to, get into that kind of thing, and you want to just click it and forget it. You can click a subscription model for X amount of dollars, whatever package you want, and it'll give you X amount of things every month. And it'll be better than what you can buy, singly. And then you also earn the free currency as you go kind of thing. And, no. Full cards are in every pack. Every single pack. There is a full card in every pack. Now then, there's actually two different foils. There's the normal foil and the holographic foil.
All right.
What if they were the only packs? What if they were only on packs? I don't get what that is.
Yeah. Because I think, as you said, it's going to be in a pack no matter what.
Yeah, whenever you get cards, it's besides like your quest and whatnot.
Straight, right?
When you get cards in the game, besides through like a quest or something, they're going to be in packs. So you'll save up some free currency and you'll buy a pack of cards. No. You can't craft any cards. There will be no artificial card creation kind of thing. Now, what you can do is you can buy a card that somebody is selling in a marketplace. And what the marketplace does is it monitors supply and demand kind of thing. And basically it monitors how many people are selling a card and how many people are wanting to buy said card for, whatever set price kind of thing, because you can set your price limits and set auto buys and all this other stuff in there if one comes available. And basically, if nobody's selling the card, then you can't buy it. And, in that, what happens is the AI will go in there and monitor that, and it'll be like, okay, nobody's selling this. A lot of people are wanting to buy it. Okay, the price goes up so that now there's more given to the person to sell it, which means they'll be more willing to sell it, and more people will sell it, and less people will be willing to buy it, and you'll just keep on. The AI will just keep on doing that, adjusting it until supply and demand meet. And you when you sell a card, you sell it for about either 50 or 40% of its value, and they buy it for 100%. No, but you have to be to create a financial model.
Yeah, you gotta understand this stuff.
Yeah, you have to be, that's part of, and that's definitely what Ramin is. Ramin is very much an economist, and you have to be to create a financial model, pretty much that is good kind of thing. And the thing is the AI that's in between the shopkeeper that's monitoring, that's keeping those prices, regulating those prices and whatnot. The main reason for that is so that you don't have player-to-player trading, because that's when people will do bot farms, get all their get a bunch of cards on that, and then just give them away to your other one, and they'll just have one account with all the cards, because they'll have bot farms go out there and spam everything and do all that stuff, and you'll have all kinds of other trouble kind of thing. Anytime player-to-player interaction comes with anything that is not just chatting, and even sometimes within chatting, bad things happen. Yeah. So you want to limit that to a certain point.
All right. But we are kind of off top, and I think this will probably be a good spot to wrap things up with for this week. And we will come back to talk about community engagement and community growth for next week's show.
Maybe we could have a topic on the economics of making of monetization systems. There we go.
Mm-hmm. I think we need to get Ramin in for that one because I think he knows a thing or two about that as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. And again, there's a lot that goes into making these games successful that we have spent many topics discussing, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
But with that, we will wrap things up for now. Yeah, we do have to get you we gotta get you on for that talk too, Rats. Probably sometime next we'll have to see about finding a time. But for those of you new who've been tuning in, thank you so much. As always, you'll find links to our respective Discords in the description down below. And you can follow me on Twitter at GWBlazer.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Nexus Games INC. And join the Discords, join both of our YouTube channels. Josh does nightly streams as well as, these streams every, Saturday, and a whole bunch of other developer streams and all kinds of other stuff. While I do, game streams on Tuesdays, do this on Sundays. I do my dev stream where you can watch me make my game, talk about the economic model or anything else about my game, on Fridays. And you can, and then on Thursdays, you can see this on both of our streams. We have the Indie Inquiry, and subscribe to the channels and ring the bell if you actually want to see them live, and join the Discord, because ringing the bell usually isn't enough for YouTube to actually notify you.
Oh, yes. All right. But with that, we will say goodnight for now. So come back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Until next time, take care.
See ya.